What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by all of our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks, Ethos Life Insurance, and of course, Omaha Steaks. It is Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth ahead of the Patriots Broncos AFC Championship game. Still crazy to be saying that and talking about that, but here we go. We're going to get into it. We talked a little bit about this, Barth, earlier in the week on our crossover, but we've had a couple days now. We got into a little bit more Jarrett Stidham. We got more about altitude talk and Denver and all this stuff. So just a couple days removed from that crossover before we really dive into this. Just how you feeling? How excited are you about this AFC Championship game going on right now?
I feel good about where the Patriots are at. I think less good than some people. And I'm going to say what I said at the crossover because it's still my overarching take for this game. The Patriots are facing a backup quarterback. They should win. You face a guy that hasn't thrown a pass in 2 years, especially in a playoff game. I don't care where it is, you should win. That being said, and I mean this is no disrespect to Bo Nix or to Jarrett Stidham, like this Broncos team always was, always is going to be about the defense. And I'd be saying this if Bo Nix was playing. Frankly, my take at Bo Nix started this game would be, I'm not as worried about Bo Nix as some people. I don't think they're going to let him run around as much, but it doesn't matter how much they contain him if the defense has its way, if the Denver defense has its way. Same goes for Jarrett Stidham, who doesn't run as much as Bo Nix, but like Bo Nix isn't out there playing corner instead of Patrick Certan. Bo Nix isn't out there rushing the passer instead of Nick Benito. If one of those was the case, yeah, I'd feel really good about where the Patriots are at right now. But that's not what's happening. And he's going to, I don't think that offense is going to be completely dysfunctional with Stidham. I said Bo Nix. I meant Stidham. If Stidham's out there rushing the passer, playing corner, or whatever, they still have to crack this defense, and they have to take care of the football, and they can't turn the ball over because if you start giving Jarrett Stidham short fields, look, if this comes down to like it has the last 2 weeks, I know this was with a ton of turnovers, but the last 2 weeks in some ways have come down to Drake May could make 2 or 3 plays that the other quarterback couldn't. And if it comes down to that, which is what I think it's going to come down to because of how good that defense is, I like the Patriots. But if you give Jarrett Stidham a couple of short fields and this run game a couple of short fields, especially if they get J.K. Dobbins back, and you let them steal some points, well, suddenly that margin for error goes out the window. And now you let the Broncos defense really start to take this game over. So I still think the Patriots should win. I still feel relatively good. I don't think this is a cakewalk, though, just because Bo Nix is out, because that defense is still really freaking good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, last week against the Texans, until that Kayshon Boutte touchdown, like that was a close game back and forth, and CJ Stroud was atrocious in that game. Like he was an absolute mess. And like, is Jarrett Stidham going to be that much of a wet puddle?
So that I don't want to go full Dan Orlovsky here, but like I believe Jarrett Stidham can be better than CJ Stroud was last week. I don't think he's overall a better quarterback. That was CJ Stroud's floor. That's not him every week, right?
Yeah.
But I think Jarrett Stidham can be better. Now, how much better? But to your, like, I don't know, chime in if you disagree, but like, I think you might see a better quarterback game this week than you did last week, even with the injury. The ceiling's still not that high. Sorry, Jordan Palmer, but you don't want to leave the door open for him.
Jarrett Stidham, quarterback coach, Jordan Palmer. You should clarify that with, but yeah, I mean,
if people haven't seen that clip, where he says that Drake May, Jarrett Stidham had the same ceiling.
If they play their best game, it's about the same. So yeah. But yeah, like that's just CJ Stroud was like just so bad last week that I just a hard time to see Jarrett Stidham playing that bad of a game, especially when you're paired with Sean Payton, who's been doing this for so long. He's got all week to get him ready and prepared for this. Like you could just see the path to this game still being close, but then it is Jarrett Stidham. It's a guy who hasn't thrown a pass in a game in over 2 years, 750 days we had. So it's tough. You mentioned the short fields. Like it's really hard for me to see how the Patriots lose this game unless Drake May is still kind of a mess with all these turnovers and he's putting the ball on the ground. And maybe they don't get too recovered like they did last week, and you're giving the Broncos the ball inside the red zone and Jarrett Stidham has a short field and you're gifting them points. Like to me, if the Patriots can play their clean game with Drake taking care of the football, like it's tough to see Jarrett Stidham, especially how the Patriots defense has been playing, going toe to toe and matching Drake May enough to win this game.
And the other part of it, and again, I don't want to do what Dan Orlovsky did. I want to make sure I give the Patriots defense credit. CJ Stroud was that bad last week because the Patriots got to him, and because they pressured him, and because they spun the dial, and because he didn't know what he was looking at, and they created that circumstance where CJ Stroud was as bad as he was. Be clear about that. The Broncos' offensive line is, I mean, night and day, miles better than what Houston had last week, and some of that was due to injuries, but all-pro tackle, all-pro guard. Their other tackle got all-pro votes. They've had some injuries at left guard and center, but their left guard, whose name is escaping me, is back. Wattenberg, their center, returned to practice this week from IR, so they could be full go up front in what was one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the NFL this year. So if the Patriots get to Stidham and pressure him, yeah, he's probably going to look a little bit like CJ Stroud did last week. Getting to him in that way is going to be a lot harder because of the offensive line and because of the play calling of Sean Payton. You know, he's going to have play action, bootlegs, draws, things to upset the timing, things like that to help that offensive line, screens. And so it's going to be a lot more of a challenge. Doesn't mean they can't do it. One thing is, you know, you don't worry about Stidham really carving you up too much in terms of complex coverages. So it is, I think, a little bit easier to blitz in this game. And okay, they have 5 offensive linemen. Maybe you send 6 regularly. And yeah, you're one-on-one across the board, but they're going to have to leave a tight end or a back or somebody in to protect, which is not as good as their offensive line is, not necessarily a strong point for Denver. So there are ways they can do it, and there are ways they can get to Stidham and make him look like Stroud last week. And it probably is not going to take as much pressure as next week, but generating any pressure on this Broncos team, especially without a blitz, is going to be very difficult because of how good the offensive line is and because of how good the play caller is. And that's the first challenge the Patriots have to overcome in this game. If they can get pressure on Stidham, then like regularly, what was their pressure rate last week? It was over 40, right?
Yeah, I think it was like 45-ish, 40 in that 40 to 50% range.
And they have 72 pressures the last 2 weeks. Like, you're not doing that this week. It's just the line's too good compared to what you faced. That doesn't mean that they can't get meaningful pressure. It's just going to take more to do from the players and from the play caller.
Yeah, it is the best offensive line. They've certainly played in the playoffs, right? The Chargers were a dumpster fire. The Texans were down a couple guys and weren't even good in the regular season, but one of the best offensive lines in football. So to get that rush, are you still, you know, we've talked a lot how they've kind of got way more aggressive these last 2 weeks, dialed up their blitz percentage by almost like 13-14%. Are you sticking with that? Because Patriots 4-man rush as a whole, like it hasn't been there for a lot of the time this season. You know, they're generating pressure in the playoffs, you know, under 30% of the time with just that 4-man rush. You know, Harold Landry's pretty banged up. You know, he was just limited to 11 snaps last week. You're not getting much out of him. It's been more Elijah Ponder and Anthony Jennings. So they've been bringing blitzes and it's worked. You know, the pressure rate's right under 50%. So against Stidham, are you kind of keeping that same mentality to say, okay, we're going to heat him up? This is a guy who hasn't also faced a live pass rush in, you know, over 2 years. So let's heat him up. Let's get after him and see if we can kind of cause some havoc that way or continue to cause havoc that way.
Yeah, I am. And on top of that, you know, Cortland Sutton's a good receiver. I like Christian Gonzalez in that matchup. I think that is a good, you know, check mark Patriots pretty strongly in that matchup. His next 2 top receivers, Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, are hurt. Now, Franklin's starting to make his way.
Bryant was full today, so yeah.
Yeah, so Bryant's starting to make his way through concussion protocol. Franklin's been limited all week, so maybe this is where, like, Carlton Davis, having him is a huge boost, and he's been limited the last 2 days. He was still in the red non-contact jersey, which isn't great, but doesn't rule him out from playing on Sunday. But especially if they have Carlton Davis, like, I like the Patriots coverage matchups across the board. Evan Ingram, they're going to have to figure out what to do about the tight end, but they have been better in that regard in recent weeks. Just don't leave them all alone like they did on that one play against Houston there early in the game. That was probably like half of Stroud's passing yardage, right? Thinking back on it.
40-something yards. I don't know what Stroud finished with.
I think he finished with just over 200, so about a quarter.
Yeah.
But if they have Davis, I like their coverage matchups. I'm very comfortable blitzing this Broncos team. And, you know, if Lil Jordan Humphrey is going to go out there and win one-on-one regularly and Jared Stidham can stare down the barrel and get it to him regularly, I think you just have to tip your cap at that point. Like, if that's how they beat you, that's how they beat you. If you took everything else away and you get them to that point, you did as much as you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and the receivers are an interesting point too, because like that's I think one of the biggest changes just from going to the backup is how much practice time has he had with these guys. And he threw to Troy Franklin a lot in the preseason. You know, that was one of his favorite targets. Trent Sherfield actually who's now on the Patriots practice squad, was another one of his. So maybe
Yeah.
some intel there. But just the chemistry between a guy like Cortland Sutton and Jarrett Stidham, like where is that at? Because even Sean Payton was talking about it this week. Like he doesn't get any starting reps in the regular season. Like that's just not how this works. It goes to Bo Nix. He's the starter. He gets all the reps. So the chemistry between those guys and those receivers with Stidham, like how does that look? So I do really like the Patriots. You know, they've been playing more man too. So especially if Carlton Davis is good, he was still in that red jersey, as you mentioned. If he's good to go, I really like the Patriots corners. Just don't fix what's not broke, right? Like they're playing more man,
Right.
you're blitzing a lot, just kind of keep at that. But the other thing with Denver here and Stidham, you know, Bo Nix led the league in pass attempts. They really kind of just leaned on the drop back pass game. J.K. Dobbins might be back. R.J. Harvey was pretty good down the stretch, filling in for him as a rookie. Led the rookie class in touchdowns, 12 touchdowns. Do you think they kind of have to try to establish a little bit more of a run game with Stidham? And, you know, the Patriots defense now healthy, can they shut that down, do you think, if Denver does try to lean on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to keep Denver's going to want to stay ahead of schedule. So that's a run game, unless you're going to have Stidham come out and dink and dunk. But I think the Patriots are going to kind of sit on that. Getting Dobbins back would be huge if he's healthy. You know, we'll see. That'll be one of the things to watch for early in the game if he plays. Is does he look right? Because he was their offense for the first 10 games of the year. I mean, it was all running through him, and he was playing really good football.
Good.
But
Yeah.
that Lisfranc injury is no joke. So, you know, what does he look like? If not, their running game really fell off when he got hurt, but the line's still good. Those backs just can't create as much. But yeah, if the Patriots stop the run and force them into obvious drop back situations, it makes it a lot easier to do the things we just talked about: get after the quarterback, create pressure, put Jarrett Stidham in spots where he has to make quick decisions under fire. And that's where you want to be if you're the Patriots. So I would expect the Broncos to try to establish the run early, because again, or some sort of very quick pass game. If the Patriots can shut that down, then now the ball's in Jarrett Stidham's hands to win the game. And that's kind of where you want it to be if you're the Patriots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just really interested to see how Sean Payton kind of attacks this thing, just because it's such an unknown. And the Patriots coaches have probably been, you know, a huge question mark. Like the preseason films at Core kind of talked about this. Like, yeah, you know, you watch some preseason film, you go back to his time with the Raiders, but like it's preseason and that was 2 years ago. Like so much can change. So it is going to be really interesting just how Sean Payton and the Broncos kind of plan this thing. I imagine it's going to be some of their staples, still a lot of the bootlegs,
Yeah.
moving pockets, but then probably try to get him going with some easy completions and try to get that run game going early. So I'd expect a good script and wouldn't be surprised if Stidham looks pretty good in that script. But then what Vrabel call it earlier in the year, that the gimmick plays, maybe once
Yeah.
when those kind of run out and the Patriots defense settles down, I think they should kind of be able to take this game over in the second half, especially with the way they've been playing, of course. So anything else on Stidham, Patriots defense? Anything else you're watching, or we can jump over?
Let me see. I thought I had one more thing on that. With the Patriots defense. No, that's all I
Any
had.
other personnel changes? Just
No, my other
Landry.
thoughts are on the other side of the ball.
All right, well, let's go over to the other side of the ball, but very quickly, of course, we have to go over to Prize Picks. Of course, it is still the new year. We know making a new routine can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high pressure playoff matchups every weekend still, and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. They have a new feature alert. Prize Picks has early payouts, so if you get a guy in the Patriots game who gets off to a hot start, maybe Stephon Diggs gets some catches on the first drive, or maybe Jarrett Stidham, if you go him, looks good on that opening script, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Barth and I will have our lineup at the end of the show, of course, if you guys want to play along with us. And that's all over on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. And also, Ethos. You guys got to protect your family with life insurance from Ethos, and you can get up to 3 million in coverage in as little as 10 minutes at ethos.com/all 32. Application times may vary, rates may vary. And we know our listeners carry a lot of responsibility in their household. If something happens to you, there are real consequences like mortgage payments, tuition, everyday bills that don't just disappear. And thinking about that used to feel overwhelming, but taking steps to protect your family financially can change that. And that's why you should get life insurance through Ethos, who makes getting it fast and easy and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same day coverage. So again, protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/all 32. In as little as 10 minutes. Again, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/all 32. That's ethos.com/all 32, ethos.com/all 32. Application times and rates may vary. All right, to Drake May and this Patriots offense. Bart, we mentioned a little bit at the top there, but ball security is the number one thing for Drake May. But if he can hold on to the football, do you think it's going to kind of be similar approach as it was to the Texans last week? Short time to throw, get the ball out quick against a good pass rush. Patrick Certan, obviously a good corner. Maybe they'll take their calculated shots downfield. But do you think it's kind of going to be a similar approach for May in this offense as it was last week?
Yeah, I think so. There's some similarities. The big difference to me between these two offenses are two. I think the pass rush for Denver, and I say this as Nick Bonito was nominated for or a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. So I mean, it's the playoffs. Everybody's good, but they don't have anybody on the level that Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter are dominant. I think Nick Bonito is probably a step. Well, that's still very good, but not that level of player. But it's a better rush across the board, right? A guy like Zach Allen on the interior being a real factor in that regard that Houston doesn't have. So that's one big change. The other big change for me is another all-pro, excellent corner, Patrick Certan, dog. Like, you can make an argument, and Patriots fans might disagree with this. The two best boundary corners in football for last years have been Certan and Stingley. Like, Gonzalez is probably in that conversation too, but okay, you can't face him. He's on your team. The two best cornerbacks the Patriots could potentially face, they're going to face back-to-back weeks. Riley Moss is no Kamari Lassiter, though, on the other side. And they've got a rookie in the slot in, I'm blanking on his name.
McMillan,
who got the pick. Yeah. Who we've talked a lot about this week, and I should have his name, but I didn't. But he's a younger player, and I think he's not Jalen Petrie, basically. They have a really good safety in Hufanga, but McMillan, I think, plays more like Petrie and is a guy that you can get. So there are going to be more options in the pass game in terms of, like, Riley Moss is a guy you're more – you have to target Lassiter because you got to throw the ball at somebody, and you're not going to throw it at Stingley. Moss is a guy you might just look to target. McMillan's a young guy, like you're going to pick on him just to test him early, just to see how he rises to the moment here. So those are the two big differences to me. Less high-end talent, but more spread pass rush from Denver. You could argue it's better. Fifth most sacks by a team in NFL history this year. Was it 65, right? Over 40% pressure rate. They're excellent across the board, but no, like, Will Anderson type. And then I do think their other corners can be got, and we can get to the penalty side of that too, but I just think the talent's distributed a little differently. Less dense on the back end, more dense up front.
Yeah, and they blitz a lot, right? Fifth highest blitz rate in the league to get some of that pressure. So if you're Drake and McDaniels, like, you're going to need a good plan on how to handle that. But you mentioned Riley Moss. Like, that is the guy with the big target on his back, and, like, find that guy and throw at that guy. He had 19 more targets than any other corner in football this year. And he gave up a lot of catches on those, a lot of penalties too. I think he led the league in DPI. So that is the kind of guy that you find, you circle, you target, and say, where is Riley Moss? We are going to throw at him. But what do you think they kind of do? We were debating this. Like, what do you think they kind of do with Certan? Like, does he shadow Kayshon Boutte, or do you think he just plays aside, like if you had a guess, like where do you think Certan ends up in this one?
So this is the interesting matchup to me because he's going to play on the boundary. But like we said, the Patriots are going to want to kind of hunt Riley Moss probably, right? So who also plays on the boundary? Like the Broncos, to me, want Certan on Diggs. But you can hide Diggs in the slot, so that's not the matchup for Certan. But like the Patriots, you could use Diggs as a matchup to hunt Moss. But when you put him out there, is Certan going to go out there? So that's going to be kind of a cat and mouse because Diggs can line up on the outside. He can play the Z. Maybe they use motion or bunches to try to force their hand. But the Broncos are going to kind of be able to declare that matchup as much as the Patriots are. It's going to be really interesting to see how they go back and forth in that Josh McDaniels, Vance Joseph this whole game. Because one team's trying to get one matchup, one team's trying to get the other matchup, and the wide receiver is the same player. So would you rather hide Diggs and not get him on the corner you want, but keep him off Certan, or try to get him on Moss at the risk that you're going to get him at times on Certan? That's going to be what they're going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
And to me, some of that's how the game declares and how the game is going. It doesn't have to be you lock one in the entire game. Like you can kind of pick and choose your spots.
Yeah. I think they might kind of just pick and choose, but it is a lot of man. Like they play man at the third highest rate too. So you're going to have these matchups and try to dictate some of those matchups, unless they do just like Sertan's travel and they pick one guy. Maybe it's Booty, maybe it's Diggs, and he's just traveling the whole time. But it is a lot of man.
Yeah, but I don't think, are they going to travel him into the slot?
I don't
think so.
Yeah. So like Diggs, Booty, whoever's on the outside,
Right.
maybe he would travel in that instance. I don't think they would move him into the slot. So, but someone did mention here. Someone just mentioned Kincaid last week had a really good game against them. Yeah, for as good as they are against wide receivers, and like every metric against wide receivers, it's like second or third or the lowest in football. More middle of the pack, covering tight ends and running backs even. And Dalton Kincaid had a good game against them, 80 yards and a touchdown. Even Dawson Knox in that divisional round had 30 yards. So could be kind of a bounce back game for Hunter Henry. He was a little quieter against those Texan zones last week, kind of taking him away. So could be a good bounce back game for Hunter Henry or, Mondre Travion in the passing game as well, though. But speaking of the backs, Denver as a rush defense throughout the year ranked pretty high at top of the league, but Buffalo again had a lot of success running against them last week. So do you think that's another path the Patriots could go down here? It's a smaller defensive front for all the talent we mentioned they have up there. So maybe they get under center, use that 6-0 line package, which I thought they would use more of last week. They ultimately didn't until that big fourth quarter drive, that classy drive where they killed some clock. So do you think maybe they try to replicate Buffalo's success in the run game as well and get some bigger bodies out there and try to move some guys in the ground game?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I that might have been more the Bills' run game.
Which is
Denver's
very good,
right. That was a strength on strength thing that I think the Bills won. You're going to have to establish some sort of run to offset this pass rush, but I think the run game could end up being like last week. It's there as a function of not being one dimensional. But unless you're up late, it's not something you're counting on for explosive plays either, especially if Travion Henderson's banged up and he hasn't been playing well. Like, you hope you get a lot out of Ramondre. I'd like to see more of that 6 offensive line package, but I respect Denver's run defense too much. They've only allowed 30 runs of 10-plus yards this year. I mean, they've been really freaking – they've maybe been better against the run than the Pats. So it would be great if they can get it. And I that's not to say like you just give up on it, because I think the Patriots run game is good. And yeah, maybe that 6-0 line package helps. But I don't think you go into this game saying we're going to run our way to a win.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like every game this year. Like it's a cop-out answer when I get asked this a lot when I do like radio interviews or stuff. It's, well, is this a game where they lean on May or should they lean on the run game? Blah, blah, blah. And it always feels like a cop-out answer, but it's true. This Patriots offense is at its best when it's balanced, when it's keeping the defense guessing, when any play can come at any time. And that's no more true than it is in this game, given how well-rounded this defense is. If you let them key in on any one thing, whatever it is, they are going to have an advantage when they can key in on things. So it's all about staying balanced, staying unpredictable. And look, there's never element of predictability when you're going to the 6-0 line, but they can even throw out of that. staying unpredictable, staying on schedule, keeping the entire play sheet open. That's what they need to do more than anything, outside of maybe hold on to the football, is allow Josh McDaniels to pick from the entire menu as much as he can throughout the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's really important just when you are running on the early downs, especially
Yeah.
like to find a little bit more success than you did last week against Houston
Yeah.
because you were in a lot of third and longs, and then that's the Houston pass rush. And if you look at the Denver defense, it's those third and longs, third and obvious pass situations where that's where the pressure, they really scheme up the pressure, and then you're letting guys like Nick Bonino kind of fly off the edge. So just to stay ahead of the chains on the early downs, and then you can build the play action off that as well. I think that's where it's really important that the run game finds a little bit more success than it did last week. But just last thing, talking about Benino, we mentioned Zach Allen, who just led defensive tackles and pressures this year. I mentioned they put him right over Garrett Bradbury, who missed practice with an illness today. Jared Wilson, two smaller guys. You let Zach Allen work against them. And Nick Bonino aligns a lot over the left tackle. So Will Campbell, looking for the bounce back from Will Campbell. How confident are you in that matchup with the Patriots kind of left side, Garrett Bradbury in the left side versus those two dominant rushers?
So Benito's an easier matchup for Campbell, smaller guy, not this like big, powerful, overwhelming. Yeah, he's a pure speed rusher. I don't feel amazing about it. How could you after the last 2 weeks? Both Campbell and Wilson, they've struggled. And you'd imagine they're going to put Allen on that side too and kind of stack things to that side of the line and base all their rushes off that side of the line and, run a ton of games over there with Benito and Allen and, other interior guys, and maybe bring Cooper all the way around on some big stunts, things like that. So I thought McDaniels had some good answers about it today. It's on everybody. As much as Will Campbell has struggled, the turnovers are not just on him. It's Jared Wilson. It's Drake May holding the ball. It's maybe guys not getting open. Like everybody's going to need to be better.
Travion Henderson with the
chip.
Travion
Henderson missing a chip. So it's everybody stepping up, but they are going to need to send help that way. I don't worry about Will Campbell a ton in the long term. I think he's a guy that is coachable, that can take the year 2 leap, that can put some muscle on, and that will be okay in the long term. He's going to get healthier too, coming off that knee injury. Those things aren't going to happen by Sunday though. And right now you're in the here and now. It's not a house money game anymore. We've talked about this. So you need to send help out that way. Drake's going to need to get the ball out quick. But they need him to bounce back. Like that's only going to do so much. They need Will Campbell to bounce back and Jared Wilson to bounce back. Absolutely. In this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do think it's a little bit of a better matchup than obviously Will Anderson as most.
Right. Here's the thing. He faced the second best pass rusher in the sport last week. And it's going to come down from that because Myles Garrett probably never going to play in a playoff game again, given what the Browns are. So it's not going to get any tougher than Will Anderson in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you still just need Will Campbell to be better, absolutely, than he has been the last 2 weeks. So hopefully a bounce back for him there. But last thing I just wanted to add on offense, and seen some people talking about it in the chat as well. Matt Collins at practice today on Thursday, not in a red non-contact jersey. He was limited with that abdomen issue. So his activation window starts, the 21-day activation window starts off injured reserve. Someone asked how he will help the run game. I honestly think with the way Efton Chisholm has been blocking, I think Collins's impact his return will make more of an impact in the passing game. That big body Drake loves going to him. I mean, his intermediate numbers, Matt Collins, are just off the charts this year. So
I mean, you talk about hunting a matchup with Riley Moss.
Yeah, especially. So I think just having Mac back, we'll see if he practices again tomorrow. We'll talk to Vrabel after. If they're able to activate him and get him out there, I think he would be a big boost for them, and especially that passing attack this week.
Yeah, it'll be good to have him back, a guy that Drake may trust, obviously. We'll see whether or not he gets back. I wonder what was up yesterday in practice. I think a lot of people are confusing eligible to return with healthy and ready to go. Yeah. Just because he's eligible to return, just because he returned doesn't mean he can play. Milton Williams, they left on IR the week he came back. Now this is the playoffs. This is different, but I think there's this expectation out there among fans that Matt Collins is just fine. He might be good to go. Like, I don't know. But I like, he has to be healthy too. It's not just about being eligible. It's about being healthy. And the little we saw him do today, he looked fine. And I emphasize the little we saw him do today. It was individual drills and stretching. That's it. But, the fact he didn't practice Wednesday makes me wonder, like, are they really kind of pushing it here? And is this really a situation where he'd be able to play on Sunday? He might be he can't be a game time decision. They have to activate him by 4:00 on Saturday, but they should know Friday after practice, and then we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was weird that he wasn't out there, because usually if they're not out there Wednesday, like, you just kind of write that off for the week and you say, okay, maybe they're back next week. But he was popped out there today for a little bit, so that clock has started. But we'll see if he ultimately is healthy enough to get activated and have an impact and a role on Sunday there again. But anything else on the offensive side of
Yes.
football? Okay, let's hear it.
So if there is one weakness for this Broncos defense, there are not many. You mentioned tight ends, that's fair, but they are penalized a lot.
Yes.
Literally more than any other team in the league defensively. I think overall penalties, they're like third or fourth. Their offense is a lot better about this. Defense specifically, they've been penalized 53 times for 597 yards. Those are both the most in the NFL, and it's at all three levels. They have the most offsides calls in the NFL. Nick Bonito is top 5 in the league as an individual player in that. They've been called for offsides 10 times this year. They've also been called for a league high 20 pass interference, and this is in the regular season. They've been called for a league high 20 pass interference penalties. Riley Moss, just about half of those with 8. Patrick Certan, also towards the top of the league with 5. So, and he is, I think, one of 7. I was literally just doing this research before we came on. Certan is one of 7 players in the league called for multiple illegal contact penalties. So they're aggressive. It'll come back and bite them. Now, they were much better about it last week. They were only called for 1 defensive penalty. It was potentially a big one. It was not Benito.
Cooper offsides.
Cooper, the offsides when it allowed the Bills to get a free 3rd and 1 when they were going down for the game-tying field goal. So a big one, but they limited the volume. We'll see if they can kind of keep that down, but the Patriots benefited last week, a couple well-thrown balls turning into pass interference, and especially against Riley Moss. Like, you don't want to go out just hunting pass interference, but it's something that they're susceptible to. And if you put the pressure on them, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to make those kind of mistakes because they've done it all year except for last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Riley Moss has 12 total penalties this year. 8, as you said, are DPIs. So that's another target on his back, Riley Moss. But just, yeah, as a whole, it will be tough, right? Because you're silent counting. Like, you're going to be in Denver. It's going to be loud, that environment.
That Cooper offsides last week was in Denver.
Yeah, fair. But that was their only one. So maybe it's a little better for them at home. I don't know the home road splits to those penalties, but you got to get out to a lead. Like Josh was talking about that today. Like, you play better, you put points on the board, you get out to a lead, you don't have to deal with the crowd noise as much. So that maybe could help them. But yeah, in the secondary, like grabby stuff like that crowd isn't going to impact that too much. So it could be some opportunities downfield in that aspect of the game there. But we'll wrap up with a few more things here, but of course we have to talk about the best Omaha.
The meats.
Look at the burger. Look at the meats all over the screen right there. Oh, it's perfect. And we start the new year strong and easier and more delicious with premium portion proteins from Omaha Steaks, who offer an exclusive lineup of USDA certified tender steaks, gourmet burgers, versatile chicken, pork, and more, with unrivaled quality and variety, with every bite backed by their 100% satisfaction guarantee. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand cut by master butchers in America's heartland. And if you want more than steak, again, mouth-watering burgers, as you see on the screen right there, look at that. Chicken, pork, they got seafood, they got desserts. It's all easy to prepare comfort food. So let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com and get an extra $35 off with promo code Patriots at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code Patriots. Terms apply. See site for details. Look at all that. Again, the meat's on the screen, filet mignon on the grill. Perfect. Love it. Awesome. So go check out Omaha Steaks. Use code Patriots again. Right there. All right. So before we put our prize picks lineup together here, just special teams, Barth, anything you're looking at? Marvin Mims for them, game wrecker. Jeremy Springer said in the return game, really good. Devon Key all-pro coverage player, and just the altitude, right? What's Andy Borgos's range going to be? So some interesting things to watch here in special teams. Any of those catching your eye?
Yeah, just not letting Mims have that big breakaway, kick it for a touchback if you have to. This is a game where you'll give Jarrett Stidham the extra 5 yards, right?
Yeah.
I'd be perfectly comfortable with them kicking a ton of touchbacks this week. And then Marcus Jones, I'm going to say it every week. It's going to sound smart when it happens. Feels like all of these Patriots playoff runs have one big return somewhere. Troy Brown in Pittsburgh in 01. Bethel Johnson had a couple in there. Later dynasty, you get to Julian Edelman. Does Marcus Jones give him that moment? And is this the game that he does it?
Mm-hmm. And just not to bring up bad Denver memories, just catch all the punts, right? Like don't.
That's I kind of asked Marcus Jones about that the other day, and he kind of sidestepped it. Just like, yeah, you gotta make the adjustments and whatever. But different ball flight. People talk about that for the kickers. Matters for the returners too.
Mm-hmm. Just
Chris Harper, right?
No Chris Harper scenes out there. None of those short fields, right? Turnovers is same bucket for special teams as well. So no short fields, but it will be interesting just to see Andy's distance, because he was hitting those 58, 59 yarders at Gillette in the cold the last couple of weeks. So maybe if he's pushing 60 and he gets an opportunity to go 60 there, that'll be interesting to see his distance in the altitude. But let's go over to Prize Picks. We'll put our lineup together here. If you guys want to play along with us, or if you hear any that you like, you can make your own lineup there. So we'll pull up, get the app loading here, and pull up Patriots and Broncos stuff. Barth, any players on top of your mind as I just pull this up that you want to look into, or Andy right off the bat? 1.5 field goals made.
I do feel like it's a Patriots game where they'll be more conservative and maybe take some more field goals. So that's not a bad one.
Okay. It is a easy one though. We don't.
No. We don't do those here.
Or he's got more than 7.5 kicking points. We could do that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Let's get Andy in there. I don't think we've done Andy much this season, so we'll get Andy in there. We got Christian Barmore, more than 1/4 of a sack. That is a demon. I mean,
it's going to be against a backup offensive lineman or a guy just returning from injury. Yeah, I don't hate that.
He gave Denver the work.
Yeah, he gave Menears the business last time.
So we could get Barmore in there.
Do they have Behringer like longest punt or something?
They had total punts. I don't know if they.
Oh no, I was just thinking because they've been letting him let it rip all year, not really worrying about out kicking his coverage.
They have 3.5 punts total, or 1.5 punts inside the 20, but no yards. A long punt would be fun. That would be a fun one.
Might go more on those punts.
Total punts or I-20s?
Total punts. And then what do they have? Do they have Denver's punter on there?
Just match punters.
I know. I think we do it. I think we match punters.
It's Crenshaw, right?
Yeah. I think it's like Kernshaw. I think it's like a letter off. Crawshaw. Yeah, I knew it was a letter off.
He's 4.5 punts. Want to go more?
Yeah, hit it.
Throw both punters in there. I like it. I was thinking Hunter Henry with the tight ends.
That's a good one.
Got 41.5 receiving yards.
How many catches?
It's 2.5, but that's the easy one. We could go touchdown too. Hunter Henry touchdown.
Yeah, let's go touchdown. Good history of Patriots tight ends in Denver, even when they lose in the playoffs.
And then I feel like we have to wrap up with something Stidham, right? Like that's just.
Well, so I was gonna say we should do Benito for a sack too. Are we running out of room?
We got one more spot.
All right, let's take off. What did we already have?
Take off Andy. We got
let's take the Borgos one off. We got a couple special teamers in there.
Sorry, Andy. We just said we wanted to get you in, but all right, we'll
get 7.5 is going to be tough when they're only scoring touchdowns.
True. Stidham, they got 58.7% completion percentage. They got longest rush, more than 8.5 if he's on some of those bootlegs. Completions, 19.5. Passing yards, 198.5. Could he hit 200 passing yards?
I think he could, especially if the Patriots get up and just make him check down underneath.
Okay. More than 198.5 pass yards will go for Stidham. And then Bonito. He's got more than 3/4 of a sack. So
Yeah,
close to
I
that.
mean, I,
We'll,
I think he's going to get.
we'll,
I don't think Campbell will be as bad as he was last week, but I think it's in his head a little
yep.
bit. And
All right. So here we go. We got some punters, we got some sacks, and we got some yards on here. We got Bryce Behringer more than 3.5 punts. Jeremy Crawshaw, Denver punter, more than 4.5 punts. Christian Barmore, more than 1/4 of a sack. Nick Bonito, more than 3/4 of a sack. Jarrett Stidham, more than 198.5 pass yards. And Hunter Henry, more than half a rush plus receiving touchdown. 6 for 6 on a power play. 85 time multiplier. We got up there with 2 goblins. Would love that. You could also play a flex play on Prize Picks, which gives payouts for 4 out of 6, 5 out of 6, and 6 out of 6. The payout for 6 out of 6 on that is still a 69 time multiplier. Nice. We love that one there. So again, new users on Prize Picks get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. If you want to play 5 on that, you can win 345. Play the 50 as well, $3,450 right there for a 6 out of 6 on the flex play lineup there. So we like that. We'll tweet that out if you guys want to play along AFC Championship weekend with us. You could also get involved for the Rams Seahawks game, or if you just heard any other players in projections you like, make sure to go to Prize Picks to make your own lineup there as well. So that is Prize Picks. Again, use code CLNS for new users there. All right. Barth, any closing thoughts, or we can end it here and go get on with the AFC Championship game?
I think that's all I got. What do we got? How many more hours? Let's play some football.
Exciting stuff.
I got one
all
more
right.
for you, actually. So part of me is a little bummed this game's not here because the AFC Championship and 2 feet of snow would be awesome. But seeing how the Patriots played in the snow last week, maybe it's a good thing. More or less 16 inches of snow in New England on Sunday.
Sounds like more, but we never get as much as it says. So I'm going to go less, just under with the less.
Okay. This looks like it's going to be a crazy one. Go get the bread and milk, people.
Yeah. I'm just hoping we'll be able to fly back and do.
Yeah, we'll see. We might not have a reaction show Monday, depending on what happens with you. So
Amit's already planning a live show from the airport or something on Monday.
That could be fun. That's old school CLNS right there.
Yeah, that is some classic stuff. So we'll see if we can get back into Boston to do a show, but we'll be back at some point, of course, next week. So make sure you guys are locked onto the channel. Hopefully we're talking about a win in the Super Bowl, or if not, we will get on with the offseason Senior Bowl next week, which is absurd. We haven't even mentioned that this year. Crazy how things change from last year. So I don't know if we'll be talking Senior Bowl or not with either Super Bowl, Senior Bowl. But we'll have something.
We'll have some bowl coverage.
We'll have some bowl to maybe talk about. But make sure you guys are locked on to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications so you know when we are going to be live. Also, all those on audio only. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. We would appreciate that. Also, make sure you're following Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985 The Sports Hub for all of his Patriots coverage there. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com for all of our Patriots coverage online there as well. So thanks everyone for jumping on with us tonight. Enjoy championship weekend, and we will see you guys back next week.